before me. Hungry, terrified, clutching your babes to your breast. Emperor Emir has marched his legions into our lands, laid siege to every fortress from here to the Blue Mountains. Rabid and ravenous, he bites and bites away. Men of the North, you stand at the precipice. Your kings have failed you, so now you turn to the gods. And yet you do not plead. You do not kneel to dust your heads with ash. Instead you wail, why have the gods forsaken us? We must look into the trials we failed long ago. In a time past, our world intertwined with another through an upheaval scholars call the conjunction of the spheres. The gods allowed unholy forces to slip into our domain. The offspring of that cataclysm was the nefarious force called magic. Yet we did not banish it, instead studying the vile arcane for our own power and wealth. And the monsters at our door, the unholy relics of this conjunction. The trolls, the corpse eaters, the werewolves. Did we raise our swords against them? Or have we laid this burden on others? On so-called witches. Stray children taught the ways of foul sorcery, their bodies mutated through blasphemous ritual. Sent to fight monsters, though they could not distinguish good from evil. The flicker of humanity, long extinguished within them. Yes, their numbers have dwindled through the years, but a few still roam our lands, offering their bloody work for coin. To this day they shame us with their very existence. The North bleeds, flogged by war. The battles are the gods' whip, chastisement for our sins. And let us not forget the terrors, the scourges from beyond our world. The wild hunt brights the sky with every full moon. The dark raiders abduct our children into lands unknown. Some say they herald a second conjunction. Can we chart a course back into the light? Will we find the strength to banish the mages from our kingdoms? Unite around the warmth of the eternal fire. Nigh is the time of the sword and axe. None will fight this war in our stead. Nigh is the time of madness and disdain.
Witchen, or witchers, an elite and mysterious caste of warrior monks. In popular lore, they're portrayed as possessing magic powers and superhuman abilities. Witchers were believed to combat evil spirits, ghastly monsters, and all manner of dark forces. It's possible that witchers had animal eyes, which granted them sight in near darkness, rendering survival probable in encounters with fiends both subterranean and nocturnal, kobolds, vampires, and ghouls. Witchers used their silver swords to kill creatures of magic provenance, wraiths, cursed souls, and striggers. With their swords of meteorite steel, they felled non-magic beasts, and the occasional human who refused to pay for services rendered. In combat, witches would go into a trance, induced, it's supposed, through self-hypnosis or the consumption of intoxicants. They fought with blind abandon, sensing absolutely no pain, ignoring even serious injuries, which fed fears and superstitions about their unearthly powers. There is little doubt that witches were perceived to be vile beings who could bring misfortune down upon common folk with their gaze alone. The heroes of fairy tales and other yarns, witches entered the folklore of the Nordlings. This is true of one especially, Geralt the Riv, known as the White Wolf.
His name was Geralt of Rivia. He was a witcher, a professional monster slayer, An unusual contract to lift the curse that held a monarch's daughter. It was enough to spend the night with the princess, dusk till dawn. If only she were not a deadly beast, a striga. The traitor responsible for the curse became the bait. Though gravely wounded, the Witcher lifted the curse and gained fame. The world changed with the coming of the Great War, the time of the sword and axe, the time of disdain. Geralt of Rivia disappeared, all but forgotten.
Rivia, population 1,234. In that, 253 non-humans. September the 25th, 1268, a riot erupts. A massacre ensues. The streets run with the blood of elves and dwarves. One person finds the courage to face the raging crowd. During the rioting, 76 non-humans perished, including the Witcher Geralt of Rivia. Stabbed in the chest with a pitchfork by a man of whom we know only that his name was Rob, and he owed 3 crowns at the local tavern. Yennefer of Vengerberg dies trying to heal the Witcher. The bodies of Geralt and the sorceress are taken away by a mysterious young girl with ashen hair. Their place of interment remains unknown.
I remember. Rivia. Yennefer. Yennefer told me that Ciri has departed for good. She inhabits another world and is happy there. Before she left this one, she gave us the Isle of Avalok, our island. We stopped counting time. People believe that the wraiths of the Wild Hunt are immortal. They race across the heavens, gripping in their bony hands swords, their lightning bolts. They take away mortals, ever expanding their cavalcade of spectral riders. They burned the orchard and the house. In their armored boots, they trampled our island. And they made off with Yennefer. I had to get her back. Return to reality. Return to the Witcher's path. September 13th, 1269, the Ravine of the Hydra. Following the Peace of Sintra, 53 officers of the Vryhead Brigade were brought here and executed, their throats cut. The elves' bodies were dropped into the chasm. I don't know what the riders of the hunt were looking for. November 23rd, 1269. Sintra, the village of Coldwater, and another victim of the hunt. An 11-year-old boy. His parents didn't even ask if he had a chance. I'm tired. February 24th, 1270. A high pass in the Armouche Mountains. An imperial manticore, one of the world's oldest and deadliest monsters. I used to feel excitement at moments like this. Now the beast is only an obstacle on my way. Its meat and hot blood will help me survive this icy hell. May 30th, 1270. The Yaruga River. The hunt continues to race south. Since I've been following them, they've taken 23 individuals, all between the ages of 10 and 20. All except for Yennefer. July 25th, 1270. The forests of Angren. No mighty mortal, no heap of meat or strong man can parry the strike of the Slizzard's tail. Letho couldn't either, but by some miracle he survived. I helped him. After all, Witchers on the path should help each other. He had 2 comrades, brother Witchers from the School of the Viper. The hunt continued south, and Letho of Gullet knew where it was going. He knew where the hellish chase would end. Winter Solstice 1270. Middenvern, the Night of Magic. Letho wasn't lying, the hunt had stopped. At the Hanged Man's Tree, the spectral riders selected from among those they had taken. Yennefer was among them. A wraith cannot be killed, only driven away. Every Witcher knows that. Yet the riders fell beneath the blows of our Witcher's blades. Crimson blood flowed from under their dead men's armor. We could not kill them all. They were simply too many. A stalemate. He was different from all other elves. There was no shame in his gaze. He had never suffered persecution. He had endured no massacres. Humans had not taken his land. This elf was not of this world. He was an invader. We struck a deal. My soul for that of Yennefer. He agreed without hesitation.
5 years after the Great War, the northern kingdoms continued to suffer. Rivers flowed red with elven blood, and life was cheaper than a fistful of coppers. The world needed a hero. They said he arrived on the wings of a storm to help the downtrodden. They said he'd gone mad and died. They called him the Sword of Destiny. They said he returned, for only evil can vanquish evil. In truth, Geralt of Rivia reappeared, barely breathing and bereft of memory, near the Witcher's citadel of Kaer Morhen. The Wild Hunt, war's omen, sped across the sky, while in Vizima a cow gave birth to a two-headed calf. All other claims are legend. At Kaer Morhen, Geralt recovered, yet even his one-time lover, the powerful sorceress Triss Merigold, could not restore his memory. The calm would not last. Armed brigands led by the sorcerer Azar Javed and the professor, a killer for hire, attacked the citadel. Though bandit blood stained Kaer Morhen's walls, the attackers made off with their prize. The secrets of Witcher mutation, concealed for centuries, disappeared in a flash of magic. The Witchers set off on a search, as tradition ordained, to the four corners of the world. Geralt of Rivia went south to the Temerian capital of Vizima, where he'd once cured a princess of a curse. When the cat is away, King Foltest was nowhere in sight and Vizima was in turmoil. The Order of the Flaming Rose, Grand Master Jacques de Aldersberg at its head, pursued its crusade against non-humans. With whips and chains, swords and fire, the Order's ruthless steel-clad knights hunted all those they deemed strange for their ears or their stature. In Vizima, the Witcher picked up the bandits' trail. He learned they were members of Salamandra, a secret criminal guild. Brutal in their methods, they dealt in fistech, murder, and extortion. Geralt didn't know these were means to a darker goal. As the Witcher hunted Salamandra, he was drawn into the conflict between the Scoia'tael rebels and the Order of the Flaming Rose. The two sides finally clashed in the swamp near Vizima. Knights of the Order and Scoia'tael fought a bloody battle, while Geralt faced Azar Javed and the Professor. The mage felled Geralt with powerful spells, leaving him as fodder for swamp monsters. Triss saved the Witcher's life. He recovered under her nurturing hand. She introduced him to powerful politicians and influential merchant guildsmen. The mood in the city was tense. Confined to ghettos, non-humans spoke openly of mutiny. There was no sign of the king. Geralt found allies for his struggle against Salamandra. The Witcher resumed his hunt. He destroyed Salamandra's secret fistech factories and killed the Professor. The Witcher found Azar Javed's hideout. This time Geralt was prepared, and no spells the renegade mage threw at him could stop his sword. Yet the stolen Witcher's secrets were in the hands of another, Jacques de Aldersberg, Grand Master of the Order. Provoked by the knights, non-humans rebelled. De Aldersberg responded, releasing his greater brothers, the horrific result of his experiments with the Witcher's mutagens. Vizima was in flames and dying. Enter Foltest and his army. The king summoned the Witcher and demanded the head of the Grand Master, a monster in human form and a usurper. The Witcher set out in search of Jacques de Aldersberg and the stolen Witcher's secrets. The Grand Master plunged Geralt into his vision of the future, where the Wolf's Blizzard would destroy the world and kill all, no matter their race or abilities. De Aldersberg wished to create superhumans, ensuring the survival of the human race. It was a vision Geralt rejected. He drove his sword through the Grand Master's heart and did well. For the vision was naught but a madman's nightmare. They say the King of the Wild Hunt appeared to claim de Aldersberg's soul. They say the Grand Master was an evil man, for the Wild Hunt comes only for the filthiest and most vile. They say only evil can vanquish evil, but those are only legends. In truth, Geralt recovered the Witcher's secrets, and Vizima proclaimed him a hero. Yet life is no fairy tale. One story ends, another begins. As the king handed the Witcher his reward, an assassin attacked. His cat-like eyes and medallion were unmistakable. But that is another story.
This bard's tale begins near White Orchard, with my dear friend Geralt of Rivia seeking his lover of yore, the sorceress Yennefer. She'd eluded him for years, but now seemed just a few steps ahead. After many trials and tribulations, Geralt finally learned that Yen was in nearby Vizima. Geralt and Yennefer were reunited, but something even more important happened in Vizima. Geralt learned that Cirilla, his one-time ward, had returned from afar, and she was in danger. He was to find her, at the Emperor's command and Yennefer's behest. The Witcher's contact in Velen was to be Hendrik, the Emperor's spy. Hendrik was operating incognito in that war-ravaged land. His mission, to gather intelligence about Ciri. Yet Geralt arrived too late. The Wild Hunt had reached Hendrik first. The Witcher learned nothing from the spy's corpse, but the Wraiths had failed to find his notes. Geralt read them, and knew that Ciri had been a guest of the Bloody Baron, a local warlord, and that she'd quarreled with a witch. While searching for the witch Ciri had quarreled with, Geralt ran into an old friend, Kira Metz. The sorceress told the Witcher about a masked mage. Ciri had seemed to have taken shelter in his hideout. The Witcher set off to find it, with Kira in tow. Ciri had never reached the elven mage, yet the Wild Hunt had. The ghostly retinue was one step ahead of Geralt, or so it seemed. The Witcher felt it all was lost, until Kira gave him a new lead. The Crones of Crookback Bog. While in Crookback Bog, Ciri had happened on the Crones. The beastly sisters took her in, then wavered, unsure if they should eat her or surrender her to the Wild Hunt. Ciri escaped before they could decide. Pursued by a spectral rider, she had fled into the swamp, where Geralt lost her trail once more. He now needed a new lead. Wounded and tired, Ciri collapsed in the swamp. Some peasants found her and took her to the Baron, Velen's self-appointed ruler. The warlord took the young woman in, had her nursed back to health, then sent her on her way to Novigrad. As the Emperor's spies told it, Ciri had reached Novigrad. A lone attempt to find her in the North's largest city would certainly fail. But Geralt had friends he could count on. The Witcher decided to contact Triss Merigold. Triss could not help Geralt, yet she did direct him to Corrine Tilly, an oniromancer and an expert at finding the lost and the missing. Guided by Corrine Tilly, the Witcher had a dream. In it, Ciri and I, the bard Dandelion, were reunited. Geralt now knew that to find Ciri, he would first need to find his dear old friend. But finding me proved no simple task. For having fallen afoul of Novigrad's underworld bosses, I'd disappeared. Yet Geralt soon discovered my whereabouts, a cell in the dungeon of the Temple Guard. With the help of our friends, Geralt managed to free me. Good thing, too, for indeed I knew what had happened to Ciri. Sadly, she was no longer in Novigrad. Pursued by bandits, then cornered by the Temple Guard, she had disappeared in a flash of light and a gust of heat. Where to? This I did not know. As Yennefer of Vengerberg told it, there had been a magic explosion in Skellige. Related to Ciri's reappearance, it had destroyed a vast swath of forest. Geralt set out for the Isles to join the sorceress, and seek further clues of Ciri's whereabouts. The druid Ermion, however, had no intention of letting Yennefer examine the woods, so Geralt and Yen sought out Jarl Krakon Kreit, who helped break down the druid's resolve. Yennefer's suspicions proved true. Ciri had appeared in Skellige. She'd arrived from another world together with a masked mage. She and the mage had fought the Wild Hunt before fleeing through portals that carried them to Velen. There, one trail ended, another began. A good time later, the Wild Hunt had reappeared on Hindarsfjall, meaning Ciri, too, might have returned to Skellige. On Hindarsfjall, Geralt and Yen learned that Ciri had returned to the Isles. She'd rejoined her friend, the masked mage. They had boarded a boat and sailed off in an unknown direction. The boat had returned, one passenger on board, a creature as mindless as it was hideous. One of Skellige's Jarls captured the poor beast, then sold it to a merchant from Novigrad. His long search for Ciri led Geralt to conclude that Uma, the ugliest man alive and the victim of a curse, was the key to finding the young woman. Geralt needed to lift the curse, so he took Uma to the home of the world's greatest specialists on dark spells, to the Witcher's fortress of Kaer Morhen. The curse that held Uma proved hard to lift, but Yennefer and the Witchers managed to do it. The ugliest man alive revealed himself to be not man, but elf, and an elven sage at that. Avalach, for this was his name, was the elven mage who had helped Ciri flee the hunt, then hidden her away on the Isle of Mists. Geralt found Ciri at last, on the Isle of Mists where the elven mage had concealed her. There was no time to rejoice, for the wild hunt descended on them. They fled, Ciri teleporting them to Kaer Morhen, where their friends awaited. The wild hunt arrived at Kaer Morhen soon after. A great battle ensued, and the fortress's defenders might all have perished had Ciri not demonstrated her powers. So sudden and violent was her outburst that the wild hunt was forced to withdraw. The battle was won, the war had barely started. After the Battle of Kaer Morhen, the defenders licked their wounds and mourned their losses, save Ciri, who began to plan her revenge. She woke Geralt one night and urged him to travel with her to Velen, to the top of Bald Mountain, where she knew she'd find Imlerith. She had decided he had to die. Her plan proved sound. On Bald Mountain, Geralt and Ciri killed Imlerith and two of the crones. Spurred by their success, they resolved to challenge Eredin. Geralt had to face Eredin, but could only hope to beat him with the help of friends. The Wild Hunt could be defeated with exceptionally powerful magic, so Triss and Yen set out to reconvene the Lodge of Sorceresses. Avalach, too, began to lay plans of his own. The elven sage decided to erode the King of the Hunt's support in his own realm. With Geralt in tow, he ventured through other worlds to the city of Tirnalia. There they found Eredin's viceroy, Gels. Gels had been a loyal subject of the Alder Folk's previous king. When he learned Eredin was a regicide, he agreed to help defeat the usurper. The king of the Wild Hunt sailed aboard the Naglfar, a giant longship that traveled between worlds. As Gels had advised, the Witcher set out to find the Sunstone, an artifact needed to draw Eredin into a trap. Using the Sunstone, the sorceresses of the Lodge summoned the Naglfar to a bay on the Isle of Unvik. Thus began the last decisive battle against the Hunt. The king of the Wild Hunt lay defeated. As to Ciri, with her exceptional gift, her story was hardly done. The sorceresses helped the Witcher determine that Ciri and Avalach were somewhere on Unvik. Geralt and Yennefer set out to find them. Eredin's last words proved a lie. Avalach and Ciri had gone together, he as her mentor, to a portal that had opened within Tor Gavalka, Falka's tower. Ciri entered the tower, prepared to use her powers to end a danger once and for all, to save all worlds from eradication in the grip of the White Frost.
Hey, was just reminiscing and realized, damn, been ages since we last saw each other. You know me, got a hard time staying put, though. Regis says I'm getting old. Drops in with herbs for trysts sometimes. Strange species I've never seen. They grab Yennefer, lock themselves in her lab, spend all day brewing. Wouldn't dare interrupt them. Not that I'm complaining. Gives me time to help the guys with their contracts. Although, can't shake the feeling they mainly take jobs nearby. Lambert practically lives here. As I said, find it hard to sit still. Except, things are good here, you know? I'm good. We play Gwent, drink wine, swipe grapes from Anarietta's vineyards the odd moonlit night. Vesemir'd enjoy that especially. Been through hell and high water, you and me. Fact is, you know me better than anyone else does. Actually, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Thanks for everything. And know we all miss you, old friend. So, might be my birthday, but I say, here's to you. Now, tell us how you're doing.